your light bulb will fail. Not because light bulbs wear out, but because it was designed to fail. I know how that sounds, but this is not a conspiracy theory. It is a documented fact. The companies sat in a room. They wrote it down. We have the minutes. In 1925, the world's most powerful light bulb manufacturers held a secret meeting in Geneva, Switzerland. Philips from the Netherlands, Osram from Germany, General Electric from America, and several others. They formed a cartel, and they made a decision that still affects every light bulb you own today. The decision: light bulbs would be limited to a maximum lifespan of 1,000 hours. Why 1,000 hours? Because in 1924, some manufacturers were already producing bulbs that lasted 2,500 hours. Better product, fewer sales. A longer-lasting bulb meant customers came back less often. The solution they chose was to deliberately make the product worse and enforce it across the entire industry. This was the birth of planned obsolescence, and it did not end with light bulbs. Everything you own carries the DNA of this one decision. Let me show you exactly how. The Phoebus Cartel was formally established on January 15, 1925. The founding members were Philips, Osram, General Electric, Associated Electrical Industries, Compagnie de Lampes, and several regional affiliates. Together, they controlled the majority of the global light bulb market. The cartel's founding document, called the Phoebus Agreement, is available in public archives today. It explicitly states the agreed maximum lifespan, 1,000 hours. No member company could sell a longer-lasting bulb. Companies that exceeded the 1,000-hour limit were fined. The fines were enforced by the cartel itself. Each member submitted samples of their bulbs to a central testing laboratory in Switzerland. If your bulb lasted too long, you paid a penalty. If it failed too early, you paid a different penalty. They had to engineer failure into products with surgical precision. This required actual innovation. Making something worse reliably is technically difficult. They had to develop filaments that degraded at a predictable rate. Consistent failure on command. The 1930 Phoebus testing report shows bulb lifespans averaging 1,205 hours, close to the target but within tolerance. By 1940, they had achieved average lifespans of 1,054 hours. Precision engineered to fail on schedule. Meanwhile, the Centennial Light in Livermore, California has been burning since 1901. That bulb was made before the Phoebus Cartel existed, before the failure was engineered in. It is not a miracle. It is the absence of deliberate failure design. The cartel had another mechanism beyond the lifespan restriction. They divided the world into geographic sales territories. Certain markets belonged to certain companies. No member could sell in another member's territory. This eliminated price competition globally. In your country, one company had a monopoly, and that company had agreed not to improve the product. The consumer had nowhere to turn. The entire market was the cartel. Between 1925 and 1941, electricity consumption in Western nations grew by 300%. More bulbs burning, more replacements needed. The cartel strategy generating enormous profits. The cartel formally dissolved in 1941 when World War II disrupted global trade. But the idea did not die. It migrated into every other product category in the post-war consumer economy. General Motors had been watching, and in 1954, they gave the concept a name. Industrial designer Brooks Stevens presented a paper at a Minneapolis advertising conference. He called it planned obsolescence. He defined it as instilling in the buyer the desire to own something a little newer, a little better, a little sooner than is necessary. Notice the words, desire to own something sooner than is necessary. Not because the old one broke, but because they wanted you to want. This was the evolution of the Phoebus model. Technical failure, replaced by psychological obsolescence. Make you feel like your working product is old. Make you feel like you need the new one, even if yours works perfectly. General Motors under Alfred Sloan became the laboratory for this new concept. Sloan introduced the annual model year change. Every year, a new car, even if the engine and chassis were identical. The 1955 Chevrolet looked dramatically different from the 1954 Chevrolet. The mechanical differences were minor. But 1954 Chevy owners felt behind, felt that their car was old, even though it still ran perfectly. Ford's President Henry Ford II called Sloan's strategy a prostitution of the engineer's talent. He was overruled by Ford's own marketing department. By 1957, Ford was doing annual model changes too. When one company in a market adopts planned obsolescence, the others must follow or be perceived as outdated. This is the compulsory spread mechanism. Planned obsolescence self-propagates through competitive markets. Apple launched the iPhone in 2007. Within 5 years, the entire phone industry had adopted the annual upgrade cycle. The question is never which company starts it. The question is whether any company can afford not to do it. In 2016, a French government report documented deliberate planned obsolescence by major electronics manufacturers. Apple was fined €25 million in 2020 by France's DGCCRF for deliberately slowing older iPhones via software updates. Apple admitted it, said it was to protect batteries. Critics noted it also drove upgrade rates. Italian regulators fined both Apple and Samsung for similar practices in 2018. In each case, the fine was a fraction of the revenue generated by the additional upgrades. This is the planned obsolescence profit calculus: fine risk versus upgrade revenue. Until fines become proportional to the harm caused, the strategy is rational for the company. The European Union introduced the Right to Repair Directive in 2024. Manufacturers are now legally required to provide spare parts for certain product categories for up to 10 years. This is the first significant regulatory challenge to planned obsolescence in 100 years. The United States has no equivalent federal law. Several states have passed right to repair legislation. The lobbying against right to repair by major manufacturers is among the most heavily funded in consumer electronics. Because the math is clear, repairability reduces upgrade rates. And upgrade rates are the business model. Your broken phone is not an accident. Your obsolete laptop is not inevitable. Both are the downstream products of decisions made by people in rooms you were not invited to. Just like Geneva, 1925. And just like then, the decision is being made for financial reasons. Dressed in technical language. The language changes. The mechanism does not. Now, before we go into the specific categories, and there are more than you expect, I want to pause here for a moment. If this is making you look at your phone differently right now, that is the point. Subscribe to Wealth Autopsy, because we make a lot of these videos. And most of the things you own were designed with shorter lifespans than the technology allows. We will cover all of them. Comment below, what product has died on you recently that felt too early? Tell us what it was. Alright, let us go through the other categories, starting with the one that affects you most expensively. Smartphones. Apple's average iPhone is designed for a software support life cycle of approximately 5 to 6 years. The hardware can often last much longer, but software support ending makes the phone functionally obsolete. This is the modern version of the Phoebus 1,000-hour limit. Software, not filament, is the lifespan controller. Printers. Multiple exposés have documented that inkjet printers contain a counter chip that disables the printer at a set number of prints. The printer's mechanics are fine. The chip has decided it is done. Epson was sued in a class action in 2022 for exactly this practice. Settled for $1.6 million. Fast fashion. The average garment today is worn 7 to 10 times before disposal. In 1990, the figure was 200 times. Fabric quality has declined deliberately. Synthetic blends degrade faster. Seams are thinner. This is designed. The fashion industry calls it trend cycles. Economists call it planned psychological obsolescence. Appliances. The average washing machine in 1970 lasted 15 to 20 years. Today the average is 7 to 8 years, with precisely 1 month outside the warranty period. The Consumer Electronics Research Group RAP UK found that 60% of major appliance failures occur within 2 years of warranty expiration. This is not mechanical coincidence. This is warranty engineering. The warranty period is the confidence interval for planned failure, not a guarantee of durability. Car batteries. The standard car battery is rated for 3 to 5 years despite being chemically capable of lasting 8 to 10. The rating is set by the manufacturer, who also sells the replacement. The same company that tells you when your product dies also profits from you buying the next one. This conflict of interest is foundational to planned obsolescence. It is not a bug. It is the design. And yet we keep being surprised when things break just after the warranty. There is a psychological reason we keep being surprised, and it is worth understanding. It is called the optimism bias toward products. We consistently expect our belongings to last longer than they statistically do. Studies by the Consumer Psychology Department at Warwick University show we overestimate product lifespans by 30% on average. This optimism makes us reluctant to factor in replacement cost when making purchase decisions. The true cost of ownership calculation, purchase price divided by expected years of use, is almost never done. A cheap washing machine that lasts 5 years often costs more per year than an expensive one that lasts 20. But at point of purchase, the cheap machine wins. Because we compare the displayed price, not the lifespan-adjusted cost. Manufacturers know this. This is why they compete on upfront price and not on durability. Advertising durability would require proving it, which takes years. Advertising price requires only a number. So the market selects for shorter lifespans and lower prices. The consumer who buys cheaply drives the market toward cheaper, shorter-lived products. We are partly designing this system with our own purchase behavior. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but through the information we use, display price, versus the information we ignore, lifespan. This is the symbiosis between corporate strategy and consumer cognitive shortcuts. Planned obsolescence does not force you to buy. It designs the environment so that your natural shortcuts lead to buying. This is what behavioral economists call choice architecture. The choices are there. The architecture channels them. The good news is that changing your information inputs changes your purchase behavior without willpower. The true cost of ownership calculation is the single most powerful anti-planned obsolescence tool available. Purchase price divided by expected lifespan equals annual cost. Compare that across products. $200 machine lasting 5 years equals $40 per year. $500 machine lasting 15 years equals $33 per year. The expensive machine is mathematically cheaper. The display price hid this. The calculation reveals it. And there is one more lever. The right to repair movement. A product you can repair is a product that escapes planned obsolescence on the manufacturer's schedule. Learning one repair skill, whether it is replacing a phone screen or a washing machine belt, extends the lifespan on your terms. The manufacturers lobbying against right to repair are lobbying against your ability to decide when your product ends. They want that decision to stay with them, because that is where the revenue is. When you repair a phone instead of replacing it, you are removing $700 to $1,200 from their revenue cycle. Over a lifetime of ownership decisions, this adds up to tens of thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands of dollars that were quietly redistributed from your pocket to theirs, through decisions made in rooms you were not invited to. Going back to Geneva, 1925. So why do we accept this? Why has it taken 100 years to start pushing back? The answer involves a psychological effect called the endowment effect combined with upgrade novelty. The endowment effect: we value what we own. We are sad when it breaks, but we are immediately comforted by the new replacement. The upgrade novelty: new products provide a burst of dopamine. This is well documented in consumer psychology. Companies have engineered the upgrade experience to maximize this dopamine response. The unboxing video is not a cultural accident. It is a company-designed experience that stimulates the reward system. So you get dopamine from the new product. You forget the grief of the old one failing. And 6 months later, you feel faintly dissatisfied with the new one. And the cycle is ready to begin again. The hedonic treadmill applied to consumer goods. Happiness returns to baseline. Desire restarts. This is why the duration of satisfaction from a new purchase has been shortening over time. In 2000, consumers reported being satisfied with a new phone purchase for approximately 26 months. By 2020, that had fallen to 11 months on average. By 2024, some studies report 7 to 9 months. The faster the upgrade cycle, the faster the satisfaction decays. Because satisfaction is anchored to comparative novelty. When everyone upgrades every year, your 14-month-old phone feels old, even if it performs identically to the new one. The social context is the planned obsolescence, not just the product. This is why advertising always shows the latest product in the hands of the most attractive people, not to inform you about technical specifications, to make your current product feel socially inadequate. You are not buying the phone. You are buying the escape from the social inadequacy. And the feeling of being behind is engineered as carefully as the filament in the Phoebus bulb. Different mechanism. Same goal. Sell you the next one before the current one has run its natural course. You now understand both mechanisms, the technical and the psychological. And understanding both is what makes you difficult to exploit. Not impossible, but significantly harder. Because these systems are designed by professionals, with enormous budgets, and decades of psychological research. So let me give you 3 practical moves before we close. First, calculate true cost of ownership before every significant purchase. Annual cost, not sticker price. Second, check right to repair availability. Can this product be repaired? How much does a repair cost versus a replacement? Third, when you feel the urge to upgrade a working product, wait 72 hours. Studies show that 70% of upgrade urges for working products fade within 3 days without purchase. The urge was never about your product being inadequate. It was engineered desire. Naming it does not remove it, but it gives you the 72 hours to let it pass. The people who met in Geneva in 1925 did not predict you watching a video about this 100 years later. They expected the consumer to stay uninformed, to buy on schedule, to accept the designed lifespan. You are not on their schedule. Subscribe to Wealth Autopsy if you are not already. We do this every week. Next week, why getting richer makes you more afraid, not less. The wealth anxiety paradox. Share this video with one person who just replaced a product that was still working. They will watch it differently. This was Wealth Autopsy. Geneva, 1925. Still reverberating. The Centennial light in Livermore is still burning. It has outlasted every light bulb manufactured under the Phoebus Agreement by about 120 years. It is not a miracle of engineering. It is just what a light bulb looks like when no one decided it should fail. Your products could look like that, if the people who built them had not decided otherwise. But they did decide otherwise. In January 1925, and we are still living inside that decision. Knowing this does not undo it, but it changes how you inhabit it. You can calculate the true cost. You can repair instead of replace. You can wait 72 hours. And most importantly, you can decide when your product ends, not them. That autonomy starts the moment you see the system. You see it now. Until next time, Wealth Autopsy. Every week, we cut to the truth.